Shalom, more praise to you. How about Simeon shot double line to the apostles of GMS? This is I'm not with Allah. Lord wills be the last part of this video dealing with Simeon and Levi. Like I said, as I was doing this video, probably around maybe 12, part about 12, 13, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be real long. So I said, you know, I'm gonna finish this up, but I'm gonna do a video. It's gonna be like a video going into Simeon and Levi. It's probably be like a 30-minute video probably. And I'm gonna have like low will music in the background with like, you know, words, you know, pictures and things like that, so y'all can get a perspective on it. I'm gonna try to sum everything up because I went real deep in this lesson. So this is on the same website I was going into before. Let me go right down. This is okay, here you go, right here. This part right here. Nope, right here. That's that paragraph. A third consequence of the Treaty of Ryswick, 1697, was to shape the mindset of Haitians and Dominicans, causing them to view each other as irreconcilable enemies. Today, to be a Dominican is above all else to not be Haitian. The Dominican definition of their identity as a people was based upon this. Schools and newspapers spread propaganda with the goal of dismissing the African heritage of the Dominican Republic and to distinguish between Dominicans and Haitians. The Dominican people are described as a white people of Hispanic descent. Trujillo in the Dominican Republic celebrated the concept of La Hispanidad, Spanishness. However, when a person's skin left no doubt as to their black heritage, a concept of Indianness was quickly created to explain the Dominican's complexion. And that's what a lot of Latin tribes do. Oh no, I'm really dark because you know my Indian blood. They'll say that. Anything to get away from being associated with being black, so-called black. Hold on one second. Now here's a website called The Root, and it says Dominicans in Denial by Henry Louis Gates Jr. I'm just gonna go right down to the point. Let me go right down to the point. There's a lot of information here. Check this out. It says, let me read up a little bit. It says, from afar, I thought the Dominican Republic seemed like heaven on earth. I thought of its seamless, endless beaches, its long tradition of merengue, and its dominance in baseball. And I love its cuisine, especially the dishes such as chofan and locrio, characterized by its flavor-filled burnt rice called concon. I knew that the nation was filled with black faces. More than 90% of Dominicans possess some degree of, it says African descent, it's really Israelite descent, and that the very first rebellion of black slaves occurred there in 1522. But I also knew that the Dominican Republic has a complex past. Few people there self-identify as black or negro. Rather, a wide majority of Dominicans, most recently 82% in the federal census designated their race as Indio, while only 4.13% designate themselves as black, and I'm willing to understand why. It's crazy. Crazy. And there's a lot more information here, you know. But that's the main point I wanted to get. Let's go back. Continuing on. It says, alright. However, when a person's skin, right here, where was I? Right here. Right above that line. However, when a person's skin left no doubt as to their black heritage, the concept of Indianness was quickly created to explain that Dominican's complexion. That article was from 2011. Thus, a Dominican whose skin color is midway, and that dude, Henry Louis Gates Jr., was the guy that was doing them videos with all of them black celebrities, Jake celebrities, talking about going into their ancestry. He did Dominicans. He had a documentary on Simeon, or Dominican Republic in Haiti, I think it's called The Nation Divided. It says Indianness was quickly identified as being quickly created to explain the Dominican's complexion. Thus, a Dominican whose skin color is midway between mulatto and the black is identified as being of Indian origin. Countless dubious or foolish studies were conducted to prove this Indianness of the Dominican people through analysis of blood types, facial features, and varying dental patterns. Of course, the definition of Dominican's identity as Indian is highly doubtful since the first inhabitants of the island were decimated in less than 50 years by the Spanish. See Taínos and history page. This obsession by the Dominicans to define themselves as something as not Haitian and African stems from relationships with Haiti going back to the colonial era, as I mentioned in previous parts, through the spirit. When Haiti freed itself from the French control in 1804, she quickly undertook to protect her freedom by overrunning the island's eastern part, Santo Domingo. The Haitians saw the island as indivisible. Eventually, the Haitians occupied the Dominican Republic for 22 years. That's that period from 1822 to 1844. Jean-Pierre Boyer, hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly, Boyer, the Haitian president, sought to secure his control of the Dominican Republic by the destruction of its Hispanic culture. He closed the university and prevented contact between the Dominican Church and the Catholic hierarchy in Europe. He broke up the large estates of the Dominican nation held by the Church. These policies increased an anti-Haitian sentiment in the Dominican Republic. When Trujillo was elected president, he defined the Dominican Republic as a Hispanic nation, Catholic and white, as opposed to Afro-French Haiti, which largely practiced voodoo as a religion. He portrayed Haiti as both a threat and the antithesis of the Dominican Republic, or in other words, the exact opposite. He treated the growing influence of Haitian culture in Dominican territory. His fear of Haitian darkening of the Dominican population led him to conduct a policy of Dominicanness, which ultimately led to the murder of more than 25,000 Haitians on the Haitian-Dominican border. 25,000 Haitians on the Haitian-Dominican border. After having signed the boundary agreement with the Dominican government in Haiti, Trujillo, realizing that the people on the border, Haitians and Dominicans of Haitian descent, spoke mainly Creole and used the Haitian gourd as their currency, he undertook to define Haitians as racially separate from Dominicans. Under Operation Perejil, Trujillo killed thousands of Haitians and dark-skinned Dominicans residing on the border zone. These people were asked to pronounce the word Perejil, believed to be hard for the Haitians because of the R and the J. Everyone who failed at the test was systematically killed. That's just wicked. As a matter of fact, hold on. This is the book of Judges, chapter 12. I'm going to go to verse 4. So basically, there was a battle that took place between the Gileadites and the tribe of Ephraim. Now, you may say, well, who the Gileadites? It's not one of the tribes. Now look at the word Gilead. It just says rocky region. It will have to be, right here it says the grandson of Manasseh. That would have to be, and it says Gad when you scroll down. But it would have to be like Manasseh, because the tribe of Manasseh, real quick, dwelt in this region right here. You had the half tribe of Manasseh because one tribe dwelt on one side of the river Jordan, another tribe dwelt on the other side. And you see Ramoth Gilead. As a matter of fact, it should be Jabesh Gilead as well. Hold on one second. See that Jabesh Gilead right there? This whole region here is Gilead. See what it says Gilead? So that's the same region where the tribe of Manasseh dwelt. Alright? So it says, then Jephthah, so it was a battle between the Gileadites and the Ephraimites, a great battle. So let's read. Then Jephthah gathered together all the men of Gilead and fought with them, and fought with Ephraim. And the men of Gilead smote Ephraim, because they said, ye Gileadites are fugitives of Ephraim, among the Ephraimites and among the Manassites. And the Gileadites took the passage of Jordan before the Ephraimites. And it was so that when those Ephraimites which were escaped said, let me go over, that the men of Gilead said unto him, art thou an Ephraimite? If he said nay, meaning no, then said they unto him, now say Shibboleth. And he said Sibboleth, for he could not frame to pronounce it right. Then they took him and slew him at the passages of Jordan, and there fell at that time of the Ephraimites 42,000. Let me see. Just wanted to look up Jephthah real quick. Okay. So you had two tribes of Israel fighting. Some sources may say Manasseh. You've heard some people. He looked it up. Gilead source said Gad. I read somewhere it said Benjamin. But we know that the tribe of Manasseh dwelt in that region of land. And there was a war between these Gileadites. So we know that much. It was a tribe of Israel dwelling in Gilead. And it was war with the Ephraimites. When the Ephraimites wanted to cross over the river, the border of Jordan, as we showed you, the river Jordan was right in between where the tribes of Manasseh dwelt. What did you see? What happened? They told them to say Shibboleth. It said they took the passes of Jordan before the Ephraimites. So those were basically sentries or watchers, guardians. Okay? And right here, see, it even says among the Manassites. So when they had took that passage of Jordan, they said, say Shibboleth. But they couldn't say Shibboleth, and they said Sibboleth, and they was put to death. Same thing that happened when you read that article with Simeon and Levi. I could read more into that, but I don't want to make this video too long. I could read more into this and go into more to the history of what I'm describing, but that'll be a little bit too long. Let's keep going. And it said Sibboleth, right? What does the word Sibboleth mean? Or Shibboleth? Shabbalath.
Strong's H.
Flowing stream, ear of grain, head of grain, as growing cluster. So some may say ear of grain, some may say, I read somewhere someone said it's flood, but it's right here, it's ear of grain. And perihil means like parsley. So it still has something to do with agriculture. That was the word they told the Simeonites, the Levites or Haitians to pronounce. And they thought they couldn't pronounce it correctly, which led to their slaughter. So it's the same thing that took place, similar thing that took place. Okay. Years later, right here, right above that line, years later, the Dominican president and Trujillo's ideological heir, Joaquim Balaguer, Balaguer, continued his policy of discrimination and racism against the Haitians. In his book, La Isla al Revés, he outlined his hopes and fears for the Dominican nation. This book is a monument to the fear that Haiti, as an Afro-Caribbean nation, instilled both in the author and Dominican people. It warns of Haitian imperialism as a plot against the independence of Santo Domingo and against the American population of Spanish origin. Haiti is a threat primarily of biological reasons. For biological reasons, is people multiplying themselves nearly as rapidly as plants. Although we must acknowledge that the Haitian-Dominican conflict stems from the occupation of the Dominican Republic by Haiti, it would be dangerous and unfair to the Dominican people to attribute Trujillo and Balaguer's acts and ideology entirely to the same origin. So somebody say, oh, well, it's because the Haitians, they took them over. Well, they're saying you can't just try to sit there and blame their actions on that. Balaguer and Trujillo were both racist mulattoes and politicians who used the past for their own interests. The Dominican people did not participate in Trujillo's massacre of the Haitians. Well, who the hell you think was slaughtering them? See, so you could tell they trying not to get a little too, they're trying not to hold them to the accountable a little bit here. It looked like many Haitians, because they just didn't go, Trujillo didn't go and slaughter them himself. Many Haitians were saved by good-hearted Dominicans. I'm not saying that's not impossible. I believe that some Dominicans helped, some Simeonites had mercy on them, who could not imagine and could not accept the killings of thousands of innocents for petty reasons. The best example of this fact is the Dominican politician Jose Maria Peza Gomez, who was believed to be of Haitian descent and who escaped the massacre because a white Dominican family adopted him. Now, white Dominican family, in other words, you had Edomites, that were living in the Dominican Republic at that time. Because you got to remember, who was enslaving them? White people. Edomites. Now this is the 1800s, but you had Edomites that still living among them. Just like you got so-called white Brazilians. They're not descendants from the actual native people of Brazil, but they're like second, third generation, maybe first generation. They moved there from wherever they lived in Europe. Like a lot of those so-called Brazilian Victoria's Secret models, they really just Edomites. It says he grew up to become Balaguer's most feared opponent in the Dominican election, despite his color. I prove that color is not a real obstacle in the Caribbean, which it is. In that particular instance, it may not have been, but it is. There's a lot of discrimination there. I showed you that article, and they don't even classify themselves as so-called black. He was very popular among the Dominican voters. To fight him, Balaguer had to cheat in the election in 1991. That's basically it. You know what I'm saying? All right. Let me keep reading. and spread propaganda about its Haitian origin. The old Haitian-Dominican conflict was thus used by Dominican politicians to keep themselves in power, depicting the 22 years of Haitian rule as a period of oppression and savagery. According to Juan Bosch, this mythology was forced by traditional Dominican historians who deliberately have falsified the historical truth. Bosch contends that the majority of the Dominican population welcomed the Haitians. For the slaves, it meant emancipation. For other blacks, it promised a break from the racist hierarchy of Spanish colonialism. Haiti at that time had a more developed economy than Santo Domingo. Union, it was believed, would improve economic conditions for the poor. Radical land reforms did indeed benefit the poorest sections of the population. These reforms broke up many of the largest estates and church-owned lands. I know I'm reading fast. I'm gonna, get through this. If I read it any slower, it'd be another 4 or 5 minutes probably, which were another 2-3 minutes, which were then distributed to the small holders. This provided a basis for the economic independence of the Dominican peasantry. So with that, I'm gonna close. I know this is a long series. Now I can get on to the other series because I finished this through the spirit of Yahweh Shemel Shah. So with that, I'm gonna say, oh praise Yahweh Shemel Shah, double lines to the Apostle GMS. I hope you brother learned something. Shalom.